Morning.
Hello.
Morning.
Dear viewer, good to see you. We weren't around last week because some of us weren't at the Mel Plus show, but Chris certainly was leading.
Some of us were at Greenbelt.
Yeah, you were at
Great.
Greenbelt. Yeah, Chris was at the Mel Plus show for the deanery, leading the Making Jesus Known tent, and very successful, I understand, Chris.
I thought it was very successful. I had some very useful conversations with people asking about how to go to church and things like that.
And you said, well, the best thing you can do is go to Beaminster because they're the best, you said.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, good. I thought you would, Chris.
Yeah.
I thought you would.
And your excuse was?
Me? I was here waiting. I was sat here at the desk thinking, where are they?
Had you turned your computer on?
No. It's simple as that. No, my excuse was fairly good, that it was in good hands with yourself and all the others. Fee as well was there, wasn't she?
Fee was there as well,
and Lorna.
We had Fee, we had Lorna, we had Lorna's two little eco-helpers.
Yeah, I saw them. And volunteers from around the churches as well.
Yeah.
Good.
And
so
Margaret made an appearance.
Was definitely present then. That's good.
Yeah, Margaret made a presence. Margaret.
And we had
I found a way
Philip Ringer as well.
To do Greenbelt and the Mel Plus show next year, which is really good. I've got friends at Greenbelt who will put up our tent for us in advance so that we can go to Greenbelt next year and also the Mel Plus show, which is really wonderful.
Yeah.
Because, both are very inspiring.
And did the bracelet making go well, Chris?
Yeah, it did. Although, while people loved it, well, Eco champions weren't necessarily championing it.
Weren't they? Why?
Because you've got these little plastic beads.
Good. They were eco-friendly plastic, though.
No, they weren't, not necessarily, but we had eco-friendly we had plastic beads with eco people worried about them falling on the floor and getting lost in the grass.
Oh, well, I'm sure then they would have been on careful guard finding them with a pair of tweezers or something.
And a magnifying glass.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's one way to get people on their knees.
It is. See, the thought is there, Chris. You're absolutely right. I always say when I go in the co-op and I see the staff stocking the shelves that, there's one chap in particular who pulls my leg and I say, it's fantastic. I love to see a man at work on his knees, I say, and he laughs. That's good. So there we are.
Any which way we can to get people on there.
The next thing, of course, is, dear viewer, that this could be an end for another week because you're away next week, Chris, and I'm away next week.
Are we going to have a solo, Callie?
Unless Callie talks to herself, which she may do all the time, I'm not too sure about that.
Oh, I'm completely mad. Yes, I definitely talk to myself a lot.
You have to be careful about saying the word mad because as an ex-psychiatric nurse, I do have an opinion on that. It's not. The first sign of madness isn't talking to yourself. It's the second sign when you answer yourself back that is the worry.
Yes, no offence intended by.
Yeah, there we are. So just be careful. However, but no. So it isn't likely that there will be any Rev Chat for the next couple of weeks, isn't it, Chris? I would have thought. Are you back the second? I can't remember when you're back.
No, I'm away for 2 weeks.
Same as me. So there'll be no Rev Chat for 2 weeks.
If you really need to, can't go for 2 weeks without your Rev Chat dose.
Yeah,
you could always go back and look through the back catalogue.
Yes, 200.
Remind yourselves what we did a year ago,
or 2 years, or 3 years, or 5 years, even. Yeah,
and just see how out of date it is.
Yeah, if there, go to YouTube. You'll find them all on the Beaminster YouTube site. It's frightening, really, isn't it? To think that you can look at me and you 6 years ago or 5 years ago, Chris.
Yeah, I had more hair then.
Yeah, didn't we all?
And less grey hair.
Didn't we all?
So go and look to see what we were like when we were young.
Right. Anyway, do you think I ought to read some of the Bible?
Well, I think the Bible might be an important book to read, mightn't it?
In that case, then I'm going to read from the 14th chapter of Luke's Gospel.
Are you going to miss out verses 2 to 6?
I'm going to miss out verses 2 to 6. and then continue to verse 14. So, on one occasion, when Jesus was going to the house of a leader of the Pharisees to eat a meal on the Sabbath, they were watching him closely. When he noticed how the guests chose the place of honor, he told them a parable. When you are invited by someone to a wedding banquet, do not sit down at the place of honor, in case someone more distinguished than you has been invited by your host. And the host who invited both of you may come and say to you, give this person your place. And then in disgrace, you would start to take the lowest place. But when you are invited, go and sit down at the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he may say to you, friend, move up higher. Then you will be honored in the presence of all who sit at the table with you. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. He said also to the one who had invited him, when you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends or your brothers or your relatives or your rich neighbors, in case they may invite you in return and you would be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you. For you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous.
So we have a parable.
We do.
So there's
And
no
you're going to tell
really
us what a parable actually is, Chris.
Well, you could substitute it. How about with the word parallel? So you're talking about a physical story we can understand that has a parallel spiritual meaning.
Those days of Cudson weren't wasted on you, Chris, were they? They really weren't, I can see. All the costs of the church.
My mindset always says, well, if you could substitute a word, why use the other one?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And
so
it's
where are we
spiritually? The context in which he's telling the parable and who he's telling the parable to these people who are potentially waiting to catch him out. He's gone to eat a meal on the Sabbath and they're all watching him closely. What's he going to do? Are they going to be able to catch him breaking the Sabbath rules again? Are they, they're wanting to test him.
So the whole meal has been set up for that reason, hasn't it? To try and trap him into doing something wrong or saying something wrong.
And they're obviously very hierarchical. They've got their places of honor. Know your place. Know your place in this gathering, Jesus.
That's right. I say that to deanery clergy, but they don't listen.
They just ignore you.
So does that mean we need to remove our church warden's wands? Does that mean we need to not stand at the front when we take church on Sunday?
Yeah, it could be.
That might be. At Greenbelt, they had a priest who'd had her PTO removed, leading the service, and a little child. And they opened the service with a deaf, I think she was a Palestinian lady speaking, and the interpreter, the sign language interpreters, interpreting into English for us. So, we were the people in need of interpretation, not the other way around. Typical subversive, wonderful Greenbelt stuff. But yeah, sometimes we do need different people up front.
I'm sure people have said that in Beaminster for the past 15 years.
Oh, I know they have.
I know. Thank you, Chris, for your support. It's very good as ever. Yeah.
And yet somebody has to stand up and lead something.
Yeah, Jesus.
So again, though, isn't that going back to the literal translation of this about places of honour and standing at the front? Is spiritually, where are we? Because people tend to think that when I stand at the front and take a service, I'm the most spiritual person in the room. And I can pretty much guarantee I'm probably not.
Yeah, and I've been told that as well, Chris. So
Yeah, thank you. And the spiritual side is all about our relationship with God. And that's what matters. And it's so easy to look at people and think they're spiritually healthy when they might be really beaten up and battered inside. And you just don't know where they are spiritually. It's I've got to go and visit somebody in the next day or two before I go on holiday. That, to all intents and purposes, financially, you look at them and think they're doing very well. But I've just found out they've been visiting the food bank. And, there's those images there that we are. And our spirituality, to me, can be very much like that. The person that might come in and appear to be the least spiritual, even come to church every week, are actually the ones that need that place of honour in God's presence.
They also might be the most spiritual in terms of what they might offer. Going back to your leadership point, I've had some of my most profound, deepest conversations on faith in prison ministry, in food banks. It's there's we're all there's not a sort of a them and an us. So often.
I mean, what's interesting about the parable, the story, though, is how Jesus. Jesus, before he even turned up, knew what was going on. He knew he was being set up, didn't he? So what does he do? He doesn't hang around. He goes straight for the jugular. Right? Let me just tell you. You all think you're special. Well, you're not. And so, learn a bit of humility and be humble. Start at the bottom, work your way up, which I was told many years ago. It never worked, but I've been trying very hard for the last 30 years or so. But I think that is key. It's like the other biblical passage, isn't it? The first will be last in the kingdom of heaven. If you think you're more important than somebody else, then you've sorely missed the point. And in church, I think, Chris, your comment about being at the front or whatever, you're quite right. Somebody has to lead, and that's part of what is understood as our use in life as a member of the clergy, that we've got some skill maybe in leading, but it doesn't have to be only us. And part of our skill has to be to encourage other people to see themselves as being able to be part of this team that can lead and bring people to know Jesus for themselves, which is what you did last week at the tent. You weren't solely alone in making Jesus known. The presence of everybody there was important, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. It's quite right. And that's where it merges quite well into our gospel reading from last Sunday on Bartholomew. It was. I actually stood in the pulpit and I said, according to Jesus, the waiter who serves at the table of King Charles, according to Jesus, is more important than King Charles. I did beg people not to accuse me of being anti-king.
Or to write
at that moment, it's the service that counts.
Or indeed to write to King Charles to tell them what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I must admit, I haven't done that. I would beg his humility, going straight back to this, in saying that. It's, because it's not undermining the person sitting at the table. It's actually honouring those that also serve, because in the kingdom of God, all human beings are equally valued. And we do different jobs.
That's part of today and yesterday, because at our midweek service yesterday, we remembered we talked about Monica, the mother of Augustine, whose day it is today in the rank of things, and the role that she had in bringing him to faith and other people around her, and the importance of that that recognition that we all have a role to share the story of Jesus, but no more importantly than anybody else. It's the role that is to be shared and important by all of us in some way.
Yeah, and the more we do, or the more the job you appear to do appears to be more important, I think actually is the greater the risk of losing that humility.
And the harsher you'll be judged. Actually, it's a responsibility.
And I think part of what Jesus is trying to get at is who actually is it that invites us to the banquet or to the, and we forget that as the banquet that we celebrate every Sunday. We were talking before we started to record, weren't we, about team services and how important are they to people in the different parishes. It's this forgetting that actually we've been invited to share in that by Christ and by God Himself, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we overlook that I think at our peril, that it's God's invite to come and share together, to be one body, one communion of faith in one place. And whilst we might have, in my case, 14 branches, the headquarters, wherever it may be for the day of the worship, is where God is calling us and indeed inviting us to be part of.
Yeah, so the other thing I remember from that illustrious place I trained in was some sort of discussion that we had about, well, what about if the priest standing at the holy table gets it wrong? What about if the priest turns up drunk or, you know what I mean, or swears or something? And actually, again, the answer came back, God promises to turn up, irrespective of us. Now, that doesn't excuse our bad behaviour.
So you're not a Donatist then?
No.
That's done just a silence, Chris.
Just a one-word answer sometimes when people throw all these old words at me that I've got to try and remember from college. I can't remember everything. 12 years ago.
At 11 minutes past 9, the word Donatist strikes the fear of God into Chris's heart. Could we have that recorded somewhere?
I wasn't trying to.
David, I think that has been recorded.
Yeah, I thought you were asking me for the donut. Sorry, Kelly, but
the first word that went in my mind was a dentist.
There you are.
Well, I thought that was the name of the heresy, wasn't it? Where basically, if you received communion or if you were ordained, I think the issue was over ordination, wasn't it? If you were ordained by a bishop who was found to be heretical, then your ordination didn't work. And the point that I think they were, that the Donatist controversy was trying to deal with was actually it's not dependent on the sinfulness or lack of sinfulness of the person administering whatever sacrament it is. It's dependent on Jesus, and actually God can turn up in the sacrament. I suppose for me it means something to me because I was confirmed by Bishop Peter Ball, and I remember my confirmation very clearly, and I remember the sense of the Holy Spirit very much being present at my confirmation. Now, he obviously went to prison and turned out to be, a rotten egg. But that confirmation still stands.
Because the gift is the gift of the Spirit. It's not the gift of the vicar, is it?
Exactly.
And that's what I say at baptism. I'm handing. I'm only here because I'm a conduit for the gift of the Spirit. It's not my gift. And when I've always looked at about baptism of children, I've never ever denied anybody baptism ever. Even I might have some concerns and thoughts. We've all put hard work into the preparation and the training, but I still never refused it because it isn't my gift. It's God's gift, and He knows what He's doing in my belief, or she knows what she's doing according to where you come from. But God knows what's going on, and they don't need me to interfere in the process. Just have the faith and the belief that that's what is important, that it is the gift given to me of the Spirit to be able to do this.
Yeah, and that Spirit works, or can work, in anybody and everybody.
Yep.
You know, it's
well, I mean, I know for a fact that as a nurse, we were trained by the hospital chaplain to do a baptism in emergency, particularly on children's wards, and not so much in general nursing or psychiatry, where I worked for a long time, but certainly for those who worked in the midwifery unit, it was important, because if the chaplain couldn't get from one side of the hospital to another, and a baby was, in the process of dying, the parents requested it, then anybody who's a Christian and baptized is able to confer that gift of the Spirit, because it's God's gift and not the chaplain's or mine or anybody else's. And there we are. So these people sat around the table, perhaps were overlooking all of that, too busy trying to trap Jesus into an answer that they could try and use to get him arrested or done. Straight away he gets in there, sticks a knife in and says, come on, let me teach you a few things about this. And the thing that we've taken from it is that the banquet is God's banquet. He invites us all. We're all welcome. Every one of us, viewer, you're welcome as well to come and sit at the table. And I if I was preaching on Sunday, which I'm not, because Charlie, our LLM, is preaching for us, I would have ended with that beautiful poem from George Herbert. And I'll read a little bit to it because it's from the poem Love Bade Me Welcome. It says, and you know not, says love, who bore the blame, my dear, then I will serve. You must sit down, says love, and taste my meat. So I did sit and eat.
Lovely.
It's one of my favourites. I love George Herbert and his poetry. So there we are. Read it. It's beautiful stuff. Well, dear viewer, I'll see you when I get back off my much-needed sojourn. I'm going all the way, at least 9 miles up the coast road. Where are you off to, Chris?
Oh, I'm all over the place. I've got a few days in France, a few days with children. Just there and about. Nothing, no specific big holiday this year.
Is that because the children are going to put up with you for a few days? Is this?
Yeah. Yeah, they put up with us when they need grandchildren looking after.
Well, there you are. There you are. I can't think of a better, safer pair of hands than your wife for doing such a thing, Chris. I hope Julie has a lovely holiday as well. Enjoy. Callie, have you? I want to forget about. Have you had holiday yet?
No. I'm around for another week, and then I've got 2 weeks off in the lakes, which would be really lovely.
Oh yeah, you like the lakes, don't you?
Yeah, which is really lovely.
If I remember last year, you were in the lakes on crutches, weren't you, and stuff? With it after your accident on your skiing.
Oh, no, that was subsequently. That was in January skiing. But my knee's better. I don't think I'm going to need surgery, which is good. So
the Lord is good.
Up doing good Cumbrian fell walking or whatever. So that's
lovely. We'll have a good time. We'll see. Each of us will be back at some point or other, dear viewer. We promise we will return. If not before 2 weeks' time, Chris and I will see you. And Callie will sit in her study talking to herself, hopefully not answering.
Oh.
Have fun.
Okay.
Cheers,
Bye.
Bye.